Hi, this is Dr. Connie from Los Angeles, formerly from the Netherlands. And today we're going to talk about a success formula. Have you ever heard the expression, the way you do one thing in life, you do everything in life? So it has to do with our conditioning, right? You have certain strategies and some will give you the success you want to, others won't give you the success you want to, right? So you stick obviously with the ones that give you success. But then the conditioning take over. And I think in one of the earlier speeches, I said we have so much sensory input and research that it's like 11 million, and we're only able to process 120 of it. And 120 is a lot already, it's per minute. Right? So we get so much. We have to delete, distort. We have to really choose what to go with and what not. So we have a very intricate system, our subconscious, that takes over. We don't have to think about our heart beating, our blood going. We don't have to think about how to drive to work, although that might be a while ago for in this COVID year, right? We don't have to think about certain habitual things, and it's good. But if you're not aware of what that subconscious brain is taking over, then you're in for some surprises. Because if you've learned a success formula, let's say 10 years ago, 10 years ago, it was amazing, it worked for you, and it was the best thing you could do. But if you haven't changed anything, and if you haven't been aware what it was exactly, then that same strategy that was so successful in the past might not work right now. So it has to be a fluid and innovative and creative process. They say that the formula, or the actually what insanity is, it should do the same thing over and over again. And they had a patient, they go out the door was locked, and the patient was still trying to open the door. And of course that didn't work. So we're smarter than that, and we have to change our approach. So there's a couple of things I want to go through with you. When you're working in the workplace yourself, but also your team, the best way you have a team is that they're all self-motivated, they're all self-starters, right? And some people have that more than others, and it has to do with what they think about themselves, if they're confident in what they're doing, if they're comfortable asking for help, asking for trainings. It has to do with a lot of things, but eventually your best teammates, your best employees, the best co-workers are people who are able to motivate themselves and to start themselves, right? They have little or none guidance to complete the tasks that need to be completed. Now that's a process on its own. It's not there's somebody new in the job, poof, they're self-started. No, there needs to be some hand-holding in the beginning, but then you can get a further way till they can take it over themselves as well. There is something called a Johari window by John and Harry. They were responsible for making that. If you on a piece of paper make a rectangle, divide it in 4, and then on the left corner you say potential above. The right upper corner says belief. The right lower corner says action, and the lower left corner says results, and you connect them with little arrows. So your beliefs about your potential are very important. If you go, well, my potential is unlimited, you will react very differently. You will behave very differently. You take different actions than somebody who goes, well, I cannot do that. I remember very vividly that once, long time ago, I was involved in the semi-veteran rowing championships. They were world championships. Now, I was not a rower. I was an athlete, but I was not a rower. And people said to me, well, you have 3 months to train. You will never be able to enter that championship. And I was going, well, with training, but really focus, with good teachers and good teammates, I can do it. And I was able to do it. I didn't win. I came in last, but I was able to enter that championship. So what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your potential will drive you to action or non-action or a variety of actions. And that will give you the result or a different result or no result, which supports your beliefs about your potential. So it has to start with beliefs about you, about your potential, and go from there. Then some people, they live in the past, right? They filter everything through the past. It's like, that worked last year, that worked 5 years ago, let's try it again. Great. It's one of the possibilities. It might work, but it might not work. So you need to be flexible enough in the present to also be open to new strategies, and to have a collaborative, creative meeting where you brainstorm about all strategies possible, and then together find the one that has the most potential, the most probability at that time. So it's success formulas, they're great, but examine them if they're great for this result you want to have and this time, this business. Just examine that, and maybe you need to have an update. So beliefs that are really, really important for you to believe in your potential, to have confidence in what you can do, right? And some of them, and please write them down, are really, really important. And you can say one of the beliefs is, it's a must. I must do this. And being human, we often wait till we cannot avoid any longer, like taxes, right? You have to do that at one point. There is a certain date. After that date, you have penalties. So you have to do it. That's a threshold. Then you're willing to do it. But before that time, it's very common to get busy with other stuff. So when tax season came about, I was cleaning my kitchen cupboard, which I don't like, but I liked it a little bit better than doing my taxes, right? So you have an avoidance in doing what you need to do. So you have to make it a must. And you have to examine, what is the pain if I don't do it right now? What am I missing out on? Well, how does it influence the results you want to have? Or how much am I gaining? What do I win when I do it right now? So make that mental or on paper calculation and make it a must. I'm committing to it. I'm going to do that. So one belief is, I must do this. It must. It must change. It must change right now. I must change right now. Remember, being flexible. How can I tackle this challenge, this problem? How can I make sure I get this result? I must change now. I have to take a look at how I have been operating up till now, and then assess if that is still the right way to tackle, the right way to do things. So it must change now. That's how you commit. That's how you reach that threshold. The second is, I must change right now. Because I believe that we have great potential. All of us. Are we always living up to our potential? Probably not. And somewhat more than others, but probably not. So therefore, if I'm not living up to the potential I have, I must change right now. What do I have to change? Maybe I have to change my beliefs. Maybe I have to have more of an open mind. Maybe I need more collaboration. Maybe I need to look at different strategies. Maybe I need to ask for help. I must change now, because if I do it the way I always have done things, I get the same result I always have. And when you want to have a different result, then I must change right now. And then the third and most important, I would say, is I can change it right now. So believing in yourself, you can. I worked in an environment where a lot of people came to me for answers. And I know a lot, but I do not have answers for everything. So to have the confidence then to say, oh yes, I can help you, or to say, I am going to find the answer. I'm going to come back to you in an hour, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, and I'll find that answer for you. That is a completely wonderful way of being. It's productive, it's assertive, it has all the great qualities of finding it out. So I can change it now. with your own answers, with answers from other people, with help from people, but I can change it right now. So those beliefs are very important for you to examine. What do you believe about it must change now? A lot of people would say, I don't know. And I don't know brings doubt in your system. And when you're doubtful, then you go back and forth, right? And you're not really moving forward. And sometimes when you move forward, you find out that that's not the right way to move forward. But at least you did something, at least you found one way that didn't work, and you can adjust. It's the same way with when a pilot flies, right? A to B, Los Angeles to Sydney. And it's never a straight line. You start, you set your goals for Sydney, and then you go maybe a little bit off course. But then there is awareness, there's presence, there is a measurement. You go like, hey, if I go like this, I end up somewhere else. So you adjust. You go, of course, a little bit more. Adjust, 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 adjust till you're at your goal. So I must change it right now. It's creating also an urgency because we like to postpone things, because we also love to work under pressure. It's very common that students in school, you don't work, you don't prepare till you have to. Similar as taxes, right? There is an urgency. Now, a lot of people are waiting for that urgency instead of creating that urgency for themselves. It has to happen now. Why? Because if I don't do it, this is the time. Now I have to move forward. People who are postponing are forgetting to create urgency for themselves. And sometimes it's not for themselves. You can go like it's urgency for the business and I'm not the business, but it's also urgency for other people. If you work on a project and each of you has a portion of the project and one or two of the team, let's say there's a team of 10, are not delivering what they do by the date you agreed on, it's you're holding other people back too. And sometimes having that realization that it has its effect on other people will create that urgency, but urgency for yourself is important. Another urgency for me is always pride. I love to contribute. I have to think about what I can commit to, but once I'm committed, I love to do it. And I'm very proud that I can, right? If the deadline is too challenging, I ask for help. I go like, I'm not sure if I'm able to do that because of this, this, and this, or I need some more manpower, woman power. I need some more help. So communication is important, but what we're talking about is urgency. Create that urgency so you deliver. Wonderful. So in order to do that, it's very important that you know the result. You have the big results, and then you have probably, when it's a big project, you have probably some sub results under it with dates. So when you are learning to be very results focused or outcome oriented, it's easier to line up things. It's easier to come up with a timeline. It's easier to come up what you need to do in order to get that timeline. Now, urgency, right? Urgency is maybe another word for purpose, for the big why. Why is it important? If it's personal, why it's important for me? How will it affect me? How will it affect my family? How would it feel? What am I missing out on? What I'm gaining? So make that very clear for you what your purpose is. A purpose is pulling you forward. If you have to do it on willpower alone, when you're really good, you do that for 6 weeks, maybe 3 months, and then you go like, I don't have the energy anymore. So the pull of knowing why things are important is very, very important. So focus on the result, knowing why, list out all the actions so you're able to take massive action, because a lot of people, they kind of know what they want, but they don't know how to do it. And when you start with, this is my result, make it really specific, I know exactly why it's important, and then start brainstorming how it is, what you need to do, and then pick the best possibilities, right? Probabilities. And most important, if one way is not working, change your approach, but keep the outcome in mind. I'm working on a project right now and I have a very clear outcome. I have a very clear why. I have the concept. I have lots of the content and stuff like that. And with every business in life, sometimes you have some hurdles, right? So it's people I thought that would be involved in the project all of a sudden are not. I'm changing my approach. I don't lose sight of what I want to create, but the approach, the people involved are changing. So there's many ways that lead to Rome, right? And you just pick another way, you pick another way, and you pick another way. And that ties into your success formula. If you are rigid in your mind, there's only one correct way of doing it. No, there's multiple correct ways of doing it. It doesn't matter within all ethical and legal stuff indeed, but there is one thing you have to keep in mind, and that is the outcome. I have a great example of my youngest son, way back. He didn't like school, never liked school. But his belief was really cool. He said, well, you know what? I don't like school, so I'm going to make sure I do everything just once. So I'm going to really go fast through the school. But that's a sideline. So he was, I think, in 3rd grade, and they had a math test, and all his answers were correct. And the way he got there was not to the teacher's liking. And she gave him a fail. So I went to school and we had a good conversation about that. Because creativity on how to get to a result is greatly rewarded, especially in this time where you have to pivot, you have to adapt, you have to be flexible, and you have to innovate all the time to stay relevant, right? And innovation is sometimes very small. It's maybe an innovation in thinking. That's what we're talking about, or an innovation in actions to get there in an effective and efficient way to the result you want to have. So changing that approach when appropriate is really important. And we all know some businesses of the past where they didn't change their approach. What's the name of that company again that was into DVDs of films, right? They totally went bankrupt because they didn't change their approach. They didn't go with the time. All right, so flexibility, having an open mind instead of a closed mind, being outcome result focused. That's the most important. And make sure that your old conditioning is not in the way. If you have a success formula, please sit down and go like, you know, when I achieved this, pick one, right? Pick a big achievement, whether that's in business, in life, it doesn't matter. But really investigate, how did I get there? What did I really do? What did I believe about myself? What steps did I take? And does that have relevance in other things I achieved or tried to achieve? So then you have one success formula. It might be appropriate to use it again. It might not. So be flexible enough to see that worked there. Let's see if it works here too. And otherwise, I adapt. So in urgency, circling back to urgency, right? Sometimes you have to have some leverage. And the leverage is in the big why. The leverage can also, well, the leverage can be pain if you don't do it, and pleasure if you do it. You know, some are motivated by short-term pain and others are motivated by pleasure. If somebody is going, well, what would it cost you? What would you miss out on? I'm not one that's motivated by that. I go like, really? Yeah, really nothing. I'm motivated by the pleasure. But I do know that a lot of people are motivated by that pain. It's kind of, they struggle with their weight. Summer is coming, you want to buy a bathing suit or a bikini, you look in the mirror and go like, oh, I have to change it now, right? So finding the leverage, finding the urgency in yourself to change it now, and know that you can change it now. Make it a must. I can change it now. It has to be now. It will be changed right now. If there are certain patterns, we all made up of patterns, right? And if there are certain ways that are not productive, be aware, be present, sometimes be the observer of what you're doing or not doing, so you can intervene and adapt. So interrupt patterns that are not working. Patterns are maybe, I work for 30 minutes. Now I need a 45-minute break. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm coming from, right? So interrupt patterns, interrupt yourself when you know what you're doing is not really working. Constantly innovate, be creative in looking at, is this working? If not, how can I tweak it that it will work? Have strategies that are in the present, that are relevant, and that are getting you the result you want to have. And that serves the outcome. So success formulas, sure. Every business needs to have systems in place for roles and responsibilities, a structure. You have a structure in place too, but most of the time you do not know your structure. So be aware of how you do things, what you believe about yourself, about your potential, and what behavior comes out of it, the actions or non-actions that come out of it, and the results. So be the keeper of your mind, be the keeper of your actions, be aware, be present, be flexible, be innovative, be creative. So that was it. And when you have questions, you know where to go. And I hope to speak to you soon. Bye.